your role models, your father, everything your father has done. I mean, he spoke out day one with you against the war, and you guys really got attacked for that. Look who was proven right in the end. How dare your dad say there weren't WMDs? We're on the right side of history.
Yeah, I think that's really key, Alex. I think that's really key. I absolutely believe that myself, that we are on the right side of history, and I think it's only a matter of time before more join us on that right side. And I think what people need to understand, and what has been such a really offensive spin job, is that I'm not claiming that I know what happened. I'm not making those claims. I'm just asking people to look at the inconsistencies, look at the stuff, look at the absolute facts that were completely ignored. You know, when you get into the doomsday plane, with as Anderson Cooper reported on, and then the commission deemed it, yeah, they had so much to investigate, they didn't feel it was important enough to include in the report. Guys, it's the doomsday plane.
Over New York, over D.C., multiple government E-4Bs, over command and control aircraft while this is happening, but jets 20-something miles away, F-16s can't get there, but the doomsday planes are over both targets.
It's a real problem. It needs to be looked at. It needs to be looked at thoroughly. Let's subpoena and put those pilots under oath. Let's do that. When did you take off? How long were you in the air? What was your mission? What were you doing there? What were you told? And again, Alex, it's not just me. I mean, these are the questions that the families had at the commission hearings. This is all the stuff that was completely swept aside, and they were absolutely stonewalled at every turn, and frustrated and screaming out during the proceedings and being escorted away as a security violation. I mean, come on. It's just
Yeah, they're in there screaming, saying cover up, inside job. They're drug away. People like Bob McIlvaine, whose son died. And then meanwhile, these media whores get up there and say all the families disagree with Charlie Sheen. When, here's an example out of Salon, 911 Truth signatory standby call for new investigation. And Salon called 50 of these people and only got 2 of them to halfway recant. And Salon rightfully said, and wrote a positive piece and said, look, people have a right to question what's going on. Of
course they do. I mean, that's the country I was raised in. That's what I was told to believe in.
Charlie, let's go over some of these other points. But before we do that, I want to go back to Sibel Edmonds. She's the FBI translator listening to NSA intercepts. She goes public on this show and other shows about 4 years ago, federal gag order. She's trying to get around it. She's saying drug running, terrorist funding, human trafficking, murder, hit teams. That's now all come out that Cheney was running hit teams in mainstream news illegally, even in the U.S., against non-Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda targets.
Sure.
And she comes out now, breaks the federal gag order about a month ago. It was in the middle of August.
Yeah.
And goes public. And we've got clips in the video, your message to the president, saying up until the day of 9/11, bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and Taliban were working for the CIA.
Yeah, and it didn't get any mainstream coverage whatsoever. Why is that not the top story on the 6 o'clock evening news? Why is the FBI revealing that Ted Olson, Solicitor General, never got the phone call from his wife on the Pentagon flight? Why is that not the lead story on the 6 o'clock evening news?
What about the cell phones? They still can't make them work above 10,000 feet. Every time I'm on a flight, I try, as I take off with it, to see when it cuts out. It does it at about 3,000 feet every time.
Sure.
So I know how tall these radio towers are. They're 2,000. When I get about 1,000 above, it cuts out. If I'm lucky. Flying into L.A. and places, I'll have it on at 20,000, 10,000. The sucker doesn't turn on till 1,000 feet or so.
Sure. Then
they admit she didn't use airphones. Then the FBI says, yeah, we have no record of her ever making her call getting through to him, to Ted Olson. Give us your take on that. These magical cell phones that on a bunch of flights were working that day.
Well, again, Alex, I think these are areas that we can only ask that some scientific research be presented behind, and that for us to sit here and try to figure all that out. I mean, at face value, it sounds absurd, but let's investigate it. Let's look at it further. Let's turn it over to some experts. Let's see what they have to say. your opinion of it. I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious, but still, let's put it in the hands of the people that do that stuff for a living. Guys 1,000 times smarter than me. Stuff they do all day, every day. Let's give it to them, along with all these other points, all these other facts and you know, omissions as they were and as they are.
Charlie, I have Bob McIlvaine. I have Bob McIlvaine on the line with us, and we're going to have him on for about 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to go back through some of the final points of the time we have left with you today. But there's a famous quote by Bob McIlvaine about his son. He says, "It upsets me tremendously that Bobby, my son who died, could be used as a political pawn to be manipulated at times like this and abused." And he went on from there. But instead of just reading quotes from Bob, who lost his son, Bobby, on 9/11, I want to go ahead and go to him now. Bob McIlvaine, who was in the 9/11 Commission, who tried to speak to him. Sir, what do you think on this 8th anniversary about what Charlie and all of us are doing?
Well, if anyone does anything, I just so greatly appreciate it because, you know, it's very difficult to, you know, no one can sit there and coordinate what's happening. And as Charlie just said, you know, you hear these things, but, you know, they have to be investigated. Well, that's what I spend my life doing because, you know, after going to the 9/11 Commission hearing, I came out so disgusted, absolutely disgusted, that, you know, Ben Venise had even said that this is not an investigation. It's merely an exposition. And again, I always tell people, please look at that as a parent. And as a parent, my son was murdered. And here, the 9/11 Commission, who were supposed to be investigating the murder of my son. And I try to keep it to myself. I'm not a spokesperson for anyone else in the 9/11 movement because that's my job as a parent, as a father, to find out how my son was murdered. And I actually thought maybe during the 9/11 Commission, maybe they're going to really find out if this is true. Well, I came out of that and saying, well, nothing they told me is true. So I'll tell people, you know, they say, oh, you're getting involved in these conspiracy theories, this, that. There's nothing to do with conspiracy theories. That's all I'm doing. Please tell me what happened. I mean, God, when you hear the FBI says that we can't prove that Osama bin Laden was part of it, you know, when I pick up the flight manifest, I don't see any Arabs on it. Well, I don't know for sure who was on the plane, but I certainly think, geez, what happened here? You know what I mean?
Well, Bob McIlvaine, a former school teacher from Philadelphia, whose son Bobby was killed in the attacks on the World Trade Center in New York on September 11th, is joining us. Bob, what about magic passports at the Pentagon, at Shanksville with Flight 93, and at the World Trade Center less than a day after, with feet of rubble and dust and papers everywhere? The FBI find an unscathed passport of one of the lead hijackers. I mean, come on. How obvious does this have to get?
Well, you know, with that, you know, I would still say to someone that, all right, they found the passport there. It's mind-boggling to me. I mean, immediately I heard that, and I said, this doesn't sound right. But I wouldn't base anything on that. You know, the more I investigate, and of course, you know, we don't have the time. You know, I think I could sit here for 6 months and we could talk about 9/11. Which, you know, I look at.
We'll do another show with you, and maybe Charlie can come back in a few weeks when you're on a landline. I know you were down there at the memorial today. You're traveling back in a car right now on cell phone. But Charlie, would you? I know you and Bob have talked privately. I got you guys together. Would you like to say anything to Bob McIlvaine?
Bob, I just want to say that I'm just so deeply sorry for your loss. I'm a father of 5, and I can't even imagine what you've been through for almost a decade now. And I hope that my efforts and the efforts of people like Alex and all of those that are joining our cause are already a part of it. I hope that we can not only deliver some hope, but we can also deliver some answers.
Bob?
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate that.
It's the least I can do, Bob. It's my duty.
Bob, does it anger you? I mean, I know I've talked to you on the phone. It does. To watch Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly saying none of the families think it's an inside job and that they're angry at Charlie. Well, but they never bring these people on the show. They're just lying saying this.
Is that to me, Alex?
Yes. I mean, does that make you mad?
Yeah, I try not to get. I mean, I really have to work on my anger, and I really watch the shows, and I look at them as entertainers, and to me, they're